Hey guys, happy Sunday. How is everyone doing? On to the topic at hand. Today's live, we're going to be talking all about habits, specifically how we can implement new habits that you maybe have thought about doing, but never quite know how to make them stick. And also, if you've got any kind of unhelpful habits that you think I'd really love to kind of replace that with something that's a little bit more helpful, this live is the one for you. How we're going to do that today, guys, is we're going to go through a 3-step guideline implementation technique. Hope that's not too much of a mouthful for anyone. But what you are going to need is, if you have a notepad and pen, go old school for the 3 steps that we're going to be going through today. All right. So let's get into step number 1. So when it comes to habits forming, guys, whether it's either one that we want to put into place or perhaps an unhelpful one that we kind of just want to replace with something that's a little bit more helpful for us on our wellness journeys, step number 1 is all about identification and awareness, okay? So we want to be really, really clear and specific on exactly what it is we want to put in place if it's new, or exactly what it is we want to stop doing if maybe it isn't as helpful for us. So awareness is that first step in understanding any habits that we want to put in place or ones that we would like to ideally stop, okay? So let's give an example. Perhaps you wanting to put more fruit into your days, and you're finding that you're always going for those unhelpful snacks that might be in the cupboards or somewhere on the counter, but you really want to implement putting in more fruit. Or perhaps it's more of an exercise thing, and you're basically looking to factor that exercise session in each week, get started, get that run in, get that gym session in. Whatever it is, you want to be really aware and specific about what the habit is you want to put in place. So step number 1, guys, identification and awareness. So this is what I want to throw out to you all now. And if you want to write it down, this is a great opportunity to do that. 1 habit that you would like to put in place, okay? Or potentially 1 habit you want to stop doing and replace with a more helpful one, okay? So step number 1, let's write it down, and then let me know in the chat what it is you have identified and you're aware of that you want to do. So for me, guys, one thing that I'm really trying to do at the moment is get to bed a little bit earlier. That is my intention, to create more of an early to bed habit in the week. All right. So my number 1, I know exactly what I want to do. Get to bed earlier. Very, very simple. Okay. Now it's important that you write this down, because we're going to come back to step number 1 as we go through this process. Okay. So answers are coming in, guys. I really, really like where we're at so far. So we've got some great ones coming in so far. Sarah's saying, want to stop having a glass of wine when cooking Sunday lunch. Becky's saying go to bed early as well. I'm with you. Get more active, get more exercise, less wine in the week, couch to 5K. Guys, these are fantastic. I love that you are shouting these all out. No more eating, snacking after 7:30. Read a book before bed. Get up earlier, prep for the day. Yeah, these are great. So make sure you're writing these down, guys, and just put a 1 next to it so that you know that this is your habit and this is step number 1, okay? So now what we're going to do is move on to step 2. So really, really simple. You're going to write a 2 in your note section, okay? And this is what you're going to look to do for step number 2. This is where we're going to think a little bit ahead of time, specifically to the next time we would like to implement this habit. And we're going to determine what we need to do ahead of time in order to make that habit happen, or replace the unhelpful habit with a more helpful one. So this is where we're actually going to take a bit of action to make the thing happen that we want to take. But by doing it ahead of time, we're not leaving it till last minute. We're thinking further ahead, thinking about where we can implement it into our weeks and how we can actually practically make step 1 happen. Okay. So determining ahead of time what we're going to do to make step 1 happen. All right. So let's consider some of the examples that I gave in the beginning. Reaching for those unhelpful snack choices that might be in the cupboard or on the counter, easily accessible. What might we do ahead of time to stop that being a factor? Well, what we might do is we might go shopping when we next can to purchase some more helpful snacks, some more 0-point snacks. So we've got lots of those around that we can then replace the unhelpful ones with. Or if I go back to that exercise example, what could we do ahead of time in order to get that exercise in? Could we book into a gym class one day next week? Could we think about, if we want to go out for a run, where's that run route going to be? You know, where are we going to be able to do that? So step number 2 is thinking ahead of how we can make that habit happen. So for example, my number 1 was get to bed earlier. Number 2, how am I practically going to make that happen? Well, what I'm going to do is think ahead to what I want to do tonight, tomorrow night. I'll go, right, so first things first, going to turn the TV off at 9. I'm going to look for some sleep stretches and a sleep meditation to do before bed, and maybe listen to some relaxing music. So I've thought ahead of time. Step 1 is the habit. Step 2 is what I'm going to put in place to try and make it happen. So what we're going to do now is we're literally going to write down step number 2. So identifying the action plan ahead of time to make step 1 happen. So my step 1, get to bed earlier. Step 2, what am I going to do? Turn the TV off earlier. Find some stretches. And listen to relaxing music, as an example. Okay, so again, just like we did with step number 1, we're writing step number 2 down, writing down our plan, thinking ahead of time of how we are going to implement to make it happen. So once you've written it down, I want to hear from you guys. What is your step 2 in the chat? Okay, so exactly like we did in step 1, you guys gave some great answers. So I'm just going to pick a few people out. So feel free to respond if you want to. So Geraldine saying, get more sleep so I don't lie in. Geraldine, what is your number 2? How are you going to get that more sleep so you don't lie in? What's your action plan to make that happen ahead of time? All right, guys, we've got some great ones coming in. Sarah's saying, going to plan the drive to her niece at Panto, to Panto practice off Sunday lunch each week. Bridget saying, do more exercise videos on WW. Love that. Bridget, get specific on those exercise videos. Which ones are you going to do? When are you going to do it? What time? Think about days, times. Let's get specific. Someone's got a great one about prepping breakfast so that you can do exercise at lunchtime. Love that, Emma. Becky saying, turn off TV at 11:15, read book music, light out at midday. Love that. Put my phone away out the way, set my alarm, get up and go. Put my workout clothes downstairs. That is a great one, Louise. Really love that. Making the environment easier for you, things easier access. Guys, these are great, fantastic. Keep these coming in. Move my charger so it's out of reach. I really like that. Victoria saying, seeing which days will fit around work, college and the kids, and add a calendar reminder. Calendar reminders are a great one, guys. Anything you want to happen, get it in your reminders. Obviously, we're mostly operating off our phones and that these days. So digital reminders, always in the calendar, like a meeting, all right? So get it in there. So guys, these step number 2s are great. You've identified the habit you want to put in place. And step 2 is the action plan ahead of time so we can make it happen. So you've got these 2 things written down. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to step number 3, which is the final step. And this is where we're going to really round it off and implement it properly. So we know what our habit is, we know what we want to do, but what we're going to do now is set the actual guideline, okay? And this is going to be the most important step because this is what's going to really make it resonate with yourselves personally with what you want to happen, okay? So with this one, we're basically going to combine our step 1 and our step 2 answer into this same little guideline phrase, okay? And to bring it to life a bit more, I'm actually just going to show you a little graphic which will explain it a bit better. So when step number 1 happens, I will do step number 2. So for example, when I find myself reaching for unhelpful snacks, I will make a more helpful choice from the options I have, okay? So a very good example of answer to the first one is your first sentence complete. And then step 2 is the second bit. Another example, when I find myself running out of time for activity, I'll put a reminder in my phone to go out for a run or book an exercise session. So what we're doing by this technique, guys, is we're basically creating our own guidelines, which is kind of like our promise, our commitment to ourselves that when 1 happens, we're going to do 2, okay? So it's actually us saying, you know what, Josh, when I want to go and get an early night, I'm going to make sure I turn that TV off at 8. I'm going to make sure I do those stretches. I'm going to listen to that music. I'm going to, do a little meditation. So it's like a little promise to yourself. It's like a little commitment saying to you personally, exactly what it is you're going to do to make the habit happen. And by doing that, and by setting it ourselves, okay, because literally you will set this yourself, as you have done with all the answers that you've given, it's going to be much more powerful and much more likely to stick, rather than hearing it from someone else telling you this is a good idea, so you should do this, okay? But because you've come up with the habits yourself, you've figured out the plan of how to get there, and finally you've created your guideline, which is this final step, it's going to be much more powerful in actually sticking and being likely to form into a habit, okay? So very, very simple, guys. This is the last bit I want to hear from you, is adding your step 1 and your step 2 into that guideline technique. When 1 happens, I will do 2. Let's hear some of your examples in the chat now that we've combined it and we've made those guidelines complete, okay? So if you do need to have a look at it again later, I will be sharing it as a post, but it's literally when 1 happens, I will do 2, okay? So you fill in the blank of 1 and then the blank of 2. So Sarah, what we've got, great one. When I want a snack, when I get in from work, I will have a glass of water, and then do some exercise. Got it. Karen's saying, when I go to bed, I will make sure my alarm is ready and my running clothes are set. Good to go. Exactly. Perfect. Louise saying, I will change into my work clothes as soon as I get in from work and not sit down and go into the garden. I like what you're doing there, but it doesn't need to be, so I won't do this. It just means perhaps when I get home from work and I sit down, I will have my clothes nearby to get changed into. When I want to stop snacking at night at 7:30, I will brush my teeth. Like it. You got it. You got it. Love it. These are what you are setting for yourself. So it's so important that you've come up with these and you've set them yourselves. Loving these examples. Keep sharing them because these are great. And also, you never know who you're inspiring with what you come up with, because there's guaranteed to be someone that's thinking a very similar thing to you. So yeah, keep these guidelines coming in. Absolutely loving these so far. We've got a few more coming in. When I want to go to bed early, I will ensure the TV is off by 11:30. Perfect. You have absolutely smashed this technique, guys. I'm so, so happy that we've all got our action plans in place. We've set our own guidelines. And this is what I wanted to round off with saying, is that it's so, these are so individual to you. So obviously I haven't told you what to set. I've advised you on the techniques, but you have set these yourself in a realistic and manageable way. And that's what's important about setting these guidelines, is it's important that you are able to look at your own lives, your own commitments, schedules, and go, I can do that. And this is when it can happen. Okay. So it's realistic, truly doable, and actionable, individual to yourselves. Okay. Guys, this has been a fantastic live. I've thoroughly enjoyed delivering this 3-step habit forming guideline technique to you. What I'd love for you to do is share these either in the comment section on my most recent post, which you can find on Connect, or if you want to make the guideline into a post and post it on your Connect group and tag me at Coach Josh. I would love to see it. Some of the ones that you've all mentioned in the chat today has been fantastic, but the more you share it about, the more you're going to inspire other people and stick to it as well, okay? So share it, let me know, tag me, comment it on my most recent post. I would love to hear it. So I just want to say, guys, thank you for tuning in this Sunday. It's been a pleasure to share this with you. And again, anyone that has been brand new tonight, I hope you found this CoachLIVE, this first CoachLIVE, very, very useful. And let's smash these new habits for the week ahead. All right. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. I will see you guys very soon. Enjoy the rest of your Sundays.